morning, everyone. You might want a bit of space because you might want to just have a go at one of the things I'm going to do with you in a minute. So what I'm going to look at is sort of re-looking at the downhill technique and how, in fact, it's a bit more useful, a bit more important than we perhaps do because it comes right at the end of the training cycle. So what I'm going to do first of all is Steve's going to show a bit of video for about 2 minutes, which is what actually got me thinking about what this talk's about.
Why do we need to have this? Anybody work with the general population? Anybody work with older population? Be careful of how we categorize this. Like, you know, somebody goes 55, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna come over there and punch you in the head. Usually we kind of categorize it like 60, 65, right? But anybody, I mean, you can have a 50-year-old that's just wrecked, right? That hasn't been doing anything, and essentially they're 70, right? Their body. You'll see, I'll show you some pretty cool research. So we need to address this because basically the first thing that we lose as we age is that fast twitch ability. So you're like, I don't care if grandma can't dunk anymore, right? We're not thinking that, right? I'm thinking about, can she decelerate a load, right? We've all walked downstairs in the middle of the night and think there's a step there and there's not, and boom, you get that little electric shock. Well, we can overcome that 9 times out of 10 because we have the strength to decelerate that load, right? And that comes from a lot of the power that we've developed. But if my mom's coming down the stairs and that happens, she's probably going down. And if she goes down, something bad's probably going to happen.
Okay, so what we come to here is what the central bit there is deceleration. I know a lot of you are personal trainers like me. 1 or 2 of you will be strength and conditioning coaches as well, where you learn a certain amount of speed and agility training. When you do speed and agility training, we think mainly of actually getting people to go faster, but in fact one of the most important aspects of it is getting people to stop, because teaching people to stop is really important, because if you don't teach them to stop properly, then they damage their ACL ligaments in the knees. Okay, so this is one of those occasions when there's a crossover from what you learn in one area crosses over into another sport. So what does deceleration mean? I know it's relevant to Nordic walking, but will become apparent. Deceleration means when you're stopping, getting into that position. Okay, knees bent, bum down. All right, which is just very much like the going downhill position. Okay, now in strength and conditioning and personal training, it's called the athletic position, where your feet are underneath your shoulders and your center of gravity is over your feet. Okay, so what we're doing in deceleration is getting people like that. So if you play tennis or squash or anything like that, you know you get into that position because you can move in any direction afterwards because you're in that position. So if we then look at Nordic walking technique, going downhill, and Rosendale, you either go uphill, steep hill, or you go down a steep hill. There's a little bit of flat in between, but we go down some quite steep, muddy hills. They're quite long. So I have a mantra. It's called soft knees and bum down, because you need to be in that position when you're walking downhill if you don't want to fall, which is the same position as the deceleration technique. What we're looking at then is perhaps we need to spend a bit more time teaching the downhill technique, so we get people, our clients, who we often talk to about stability, to think a bit more about soft knees, bum down a bit, center of gravity. So when they're not Nordic walking, right, and they get that sudden move, they're going to move into a more athletic position. And we only do that by regularly doing it, getting the muscular neural system to actually recognize that when it moves suddenly, it goes into a more athletic position, rather than a more rigid position, which is when people are going to fall over and break things. Okay. Another way you can actually accelerate that muscular neuro system is what we call doing snap downs. Okay, which I actually do with my older Nordic walkers. Right, and basically we go up on the toes and we go into that position. Up on the toes and that position. And the ones who are good at that, we then put onto one leg. Right, stability. And it's getting that sort of idea into people that's going to help them with the stability as they get older. Okay, and it's as simple as that. Think a bit more about the downhill, bum down, soft knees, centre of gravity of the feet, and practice it more often with clients so you're improving their stability. And it's as simple as that. Okay. And if you've got questions, put them in chat afterwards. That's it. Thank you very much.